The second element of the offence of unlawful act manslaughter is for the jury to ask whether the unlawful act that was committed was dangerous. Now, obviously, dangerous means different things to different people, and so they are presented with this question, the jury. Would the ordinary reasonable person see a risk of some harm? So we're not interested in here whether the defendants had realised the risk at the time. This is assessed by the jury as if the reasonable person was present at the time of the unlawful act and observing. So we have these two boys, for example, who are throwing stones off of a bridge onto a railway track. Now, the ordinary reasonable person would potentially see a risk of some harm here, even if these teenagers don't. Now, as you can see, it says a risk of some harm. So the harm doesn't need to be serious, and the type of harm doesn't even need to be foreseeable. There just needs to be a risk of some harm. The harm doesn't even have to be directed at the victim. It could be that like these two young lads, they're engaged in potentially criminal damage, not potentially directed at anybody, but still there is a risk of some harm occurring, and so their action, their criminal act, would be thought to be dangerous. Now, there have been a number of cases where victims have died from heart attacks because of an unlawful act. And the question has been, would the ordinary reasonable person have seen a risk of some harm? Can we hold the defendant responsible for the death of somebody when perhaps they were carrying out a robbery, and at the point they were carrying out the robbery, they didn't attack the victim, but the victim had a heart attack because of what was happening? And the courts have come up with a rule, and they've said that only if a reasonable person would have been aware of the frailty of the victim and the risk of physical harm, can that death by heart attack be seen as a risk of some harm, and so the defendant could still be charged with unlawful act manslaughter.